So we talked about Kraven the Hunter. I don't know if we had high hopes for it. I think I kind of did in a way. I didn't even, not hopes. I think I just thought like this would probably be the one that would make the most sense to get a movie, but that didn't matter. $11 million opening, and it's definitely the lowest one of them all. It's lower than Madam Web. And, you know, there was no post-credit scene for this, and there's a reason. Sony basically is saying that they are done with this universe. There's conflicting reports now. I hear like they're gonna reboot it, but then I also hear that they're gonna try to sell the Spider-Man rights back to Marvel. I'd rather them just sell it back to Marvel, but a lot of this is like, especially with what's coming out about it. It turns out they were always able to use Spider-Man. They just chose not to. Like I thought for sure, like, you know, they're not using them because there's like agreements or whatever. No, they could have used them. They just chose not to. And apparently what gave them this impression was Venom did so well that they thought they could just make any Spider-Man villain movie and they would do the same thing. But I guess they're stupid to the fact that Venom is a name compared to everyone else. So I don't know, man. It's very weird, but this is where we're at with it. I think we always predicted the demise of this. I didn't expect it to be like this though, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not watching Kraven until maybe one, like kind of like Morbius, like it'll just hit me one day. But I'm kind of glad this is over. I'm speaking as a fan here, but yeah, Chris, what do you think?
It's too bad. Sony's a weird company, man.
Yep.
They have years where there's certain sectors in their company that does very well. And then there's other times where there's been times recently where the only highlight they have is everything that the PlayStation's done. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if they didn't use Spider-Man because they didn't want to bother him in terms of like they didn't see this thing was going to fly. But to your point, they were a little bit arrogant thinking that they didn't need these superhero quote-unquote stars to at least make an appearance to try to drum up some kind of interest. I mean, it's very obvious from the Marvel playbook that they'll tease that there's something after the credits so that people will stick around. And they've normalized that so much that when they don't have the trailer at the end, it doesn't make sense. And not just Marvel, but like DC, obviously, and everybody else that kind of does it that way. So, but there's changes coming. DC's always trying to be different, which I kind of respect. But cutting ties here instead of dragging on with a sequel that I don't think you could even convince. I don't think you could have a party big enough in Hollywood with enough cocaine to convince everybody to do a Kraven 2. So I think this is where it's going to end, and they're dismantling it, and it's sad, right? You drive by the dumpster there and you see all these IPs that they're going to stop the story of and go elsewhere, but it is what it is. Kraven the Hunter, rest in peace, good sir.
Yeah.
Good sir. You get it.
The Daz Man, you're up.
Daz Man. Checking in again.
Daz Man. He's a Daz Man.
Like, yeah, I'm disappointed in a way, but because I mean that
not disappointed in a way.
I mean that Kraven the Hunter. Yeah, I thought the trailer actually looked kind of cool for that as well.
Yeah. More of a military style, you know what I mean? More grounded.
Yeah, I definitely thought
Commandos kind of story.
Like the kind of Jason Bourne kind of fight style too. I was like, yeah, I could watch this. This looks kind of cool.
Right.
No, it is what it is. I mean, with Sony, if they're selling their or considering selling the rights, I mean, nothing's really happened yet, right? It's still rumor mill. But it could.
Ryan, keep your eye on the forums.
Yeah, it could be as simple as like, you know, them just fucking resetting or focusing elsewhere, right? You know, they just, again, probably a trial and error thing. They're realizing in certain areas it ain't working out. Let's focus on another area. Yeah, just having a reset.
Yeah, I just think as a casual character, that's a very odd character to make a movie of.
Yeah.
Like I know Ryan knows who he is. But when you're doing your studying to be like, hey, we should take a public poll to see if the public will react to this name, you know what I mean? And maybe they did, and people were like, oh, yeah, I recognize Kraven.
It's going to probably come down to, like, some marketing, too, right? Like, we were talking the other week about, was it Red One or whatever it is? We were saying how shit the marketing had been for that. you gotta probably look at this Kraven thing for that too. I don't really know who he is. I know he is a character in one of the universes. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, Brian told me about him. Spider-Man back in the day, I think he debuted in the comic book in like the 1960s or so, and 64, 65, somewhere around there. And he debuted there, obviously looking a lot different, a little more dated, right? You know, how you can imagine some wacky sort of Tarzan-ish kind of attire that he was wearing. Yeah, Kraven the Hunter bombing at the box office. 11 million is just, dude, that's scary. 11 million.
And again, like I say, like to the irregular average Joe, right? I mean, there's a couple of things taken into consideration, right? Not many people are going to the movies these days, right?
100%.
You know what I mean? It's got to be something spectacular. Gladiator 2, for example, right? It sounds kind of big out there that everybody knows, right? But Kraven the Hunter, like, you've really got to throw out your marketing team on this one and say, hey, you gotta sell this guy to the fucking crowds.
100%. And I think to Ryan's point, if you would have had Spider-Man show up, you could have at least had the character endorsed in a way, like, hey, I'm with this other guy, as opposed to, you know, you don't need the main guy. I mean, there are exceptions to the rule. I mean, right now you're watching Penguin, for example. That has Batman's not in it at all, right?
No.
But the other characters in that universe of that particular series are so strong that Ryan tells me sometimes you end up not even missing Batman. You're like, Batman who?
I literally forget.
If you guys like this video, be sure to check out the rest of the channel and consider subscribing. Go even further and subscribe to Podcast Fresh wherever you listen to your podcast for new episodes every week.